You know it's common sense. You know it's common sense not to poke a pencil in somebody's eye.
Hey, I'm John, and I went on a road trip to find answers to some of life's biggest questions. Join me on the road trip to truth.
Truth, it doesn't exist, in my opinion.
Doesn't matter what somebody else thinks.
No certainty. Everything is subjective.
Road Trip to Truth looks at the biggest questions and the answers that go with them. Here at Road Trip to Truth, we believe in the law of non-contradiction. You've probably heard of that law before. It says that if A is B and A is not B, those two statements are contradictory. They both can't be true. We believe that either one or the other of them is true. In other words, this is either a hammer or it's not. If I took this to the bank and said that this was $1 million check, and I really believed it was $1 million check, and I told them, hey, give me $1 million, they would say, that's not $1 million check, and by the way, you're under arrest. Pop culture and the world we live in disagrees. They say that everyone's beliefs, even if they contradict one another, are all equally valid.
My concept of truth is totally different from somebody else's. My truth is something that's objective, provable, but for someone else, just whatever they believe might be true.
You've probably heard it yourself. Maybe listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos. Your truth is your truth, and you can live your truth whatever way you want, and there's nothing wrong with that. Academics and philosophers warn us to be skeptical of people who say that there's only one truth. Well, today, let's be skeptical of the skeptics and ask, can everyone really be right? Mike Riccardi is a pastor from Sun Valley, California, and is working on a doctorate degree in theology. He's devoted his life to pursuing truth. We're trying to find out the answers to the biggest questions. And one of the biggest questions that anybody's ever asked is, what is truth?
First thing that jumps to my mind is that truth is the mind of God. God is never mistaken about something. God is never taken off guard by something. His mind is ultimate reality.
What is truth? Just kind of depends culturally.
There's something called the coherence model of truth, which says that truth is whatever coheres within a given group or a cultural group, subgroup, or whatever. If this idea, if this claim fits and is internally consistent with a set of values that a particular group shares, well, then it's true. It doesn't matter whether those values are objectively true. As long as this particular claim fits within this bounded set, then we can say it's true.
What is truth?
Truth is, okay, that's hard. I think truth is something that is like universal.
Yeah, I think to build off of that, I think it's something that's like very widely accepted and that is valid, I guess, if that makes sense.
The other theory of truth is the idea of the correspondence theory of truth, that truth is whatever corresponds to reality. Reality is objective, and whatever it is that we understand to reality to be, that is true, and what's not reality is false. And that coheres nicely, no pun intended, with the reality that God's mind is reality, is the standard of reality. So truth is whatever conforms to the mind of God, what corresponds to reality.
Where does truth come from?
It comes from the heart and the mind.
Okay.
I would say it's just a little bit incomplete. It's from the heart and the mind of God. If truth it just originates from the heart of man, who have we replaced God with? Ourselves. We're trying to elevate ourselves into the role of the sole arbiter of truth. That's a role that belongs to God, and it's why it's fundamentally not just wrong, it's rebellious. It's an act of saying, I want to be in the place of God.
Is all truth valid truth?
Is all truth valid truth? Yeah, I would say so.
All truth is valid truth, what you just said.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say two people believe things that are completely opposed to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Is that possible for someone to be wrong about their truth?
No, because your truth is your truth.
Let's say someone decides that it's okay to poke pencils into their friend's eyeballs. Is that truth? Is that good?
I wouldn't consider that truth. I consider that malicious.
Okay.
Childish. Even though you know it's your truth, you know it's common sense. You know it's common sense not to poke a pencil in somebody's eye.
The reality is that there are people who think it's a good idea to poke pencils in people's eyes, who are what he would call childish. There are plenty of people who, when they are granted the power, murder millions of people. There are plenty of people, when they don't have the power, find a way to murder tens of people, you know? I think that when you reason out with some of these folks, they start to deny reality at all, that reality itself is objective.
Do you think we're living in reality?
Depends on what you define as reality. In a purely Rene Descartes type atmosphere, I think therefore I am, yeah, you're living in your own reality. Is everybody else around you living in your reality, or are you part of theirs? And that's a question that's pretty much unanswerable.
Not to be, what's the word, solipsistic, when it's like I don't want to think like the whole universe is just my existence, right, but I don't have any way to say it's not.
When we say, I'm absolutely certain of something, we either have to have all knowledge that would refute any counterclaim to the opposite, or we have to have revelation from someone who does have all knowledge. You say, I don't believe that God exists. Somebody who says that, I say, okay, so is it not possible that somewhere on the dark side of Pluto there's evidence for a creator that we haven't found yet, that you haven't been made aware of yet? And most reasonable people are going to say, well, I suppose, given that I don't have knowledge of the dark side of Pluto, that's that person's lack of omniscience, his finite knowledge, coming to bear on his uncertainty. What we're claiming, and why it sounds wrong to people today, is we can know things for certain, and they automatically hear, oh, you know everything? You know the dark side of Pluto? You know that no evidence could possibly be brought to the contrary? And the answer is yes. Not because of a native omniscience, not because I've been granted some sort of secret knowledge, but because the God who knows all things, even the dark side of Pluto, has given us his mind in a reliable revelation that we have in the Bible. And he's told us certain things in there. Not everything, but certain things. And so I can be absolutely certain about those things.
So, from a biblical perspective, all truth comes from God. He's the one that designed this place. He's the one that made this place. And he's the only one that knows everything about this place. Up next, why you and your parents don't see eye to eye.
What's up, guys? Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Next week, we got more content coming at you, so make sure you subscribe.